Hi, my name is Melissa van Dijk, and in this video I'm going to show you how you can use the Ordinary Lactic Acid 5 and 10% plus hyaluronic acid, which are leave-on exfoliating acids. And this means that once you have applied it to the skin, you're going to leave it on the skin. There's no need to wash it off. Now, at first I want to go over some general information so that you have an idea of what lactic acid is, what it can do for you, for whom it is suitable, and when you should use it. Then I want to move into a frequency guide so that you have an idea of how often you can use it throughout the week, how you can get started, how you can adjust the frequency over time, but at the same time reduce the likelihood of experiencing irritation. And then I want to show you some example skincare routines so that you can see the order of application in case you want to use other skincare products along with it, but at the same time I want to show you what you should avoid, since certain products do conflict with lactic acid. At the same time, certain combinations can be quite strong and therefore can lead to irritation. And then lastly, I want to show you the entire application on my face so that you can see it visually, and how you can dilute lactic acid in case you cannot use it on its own, like your skin isn't able to tolerate it that well, and therefore you can mix it with other treatments to reduce the strength of it until your skin is ready. Now, those are the points that I want to share with you in today's video. I do hope that I can answer most of your questions with it, but still, if you have any other questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section down below, and I'm going to have a look at it and answer them. Now, first of all, let's get started with lactic acid, what it is and what it can do for you. Well, lactic acid are exfoliating acids, and they belong under the category of AHA, alpha hydroxy acids. There are multiple AHAs, but in this case we're working with lactic acid. And the Ordinary came out with two strengths. You have the 5% or the 10%. Now, use only one of them, not both. So if you're being new to it, I recommend starting off with the 5%, see how this goes, and if you enjoy it, you can keep on going with it. If you feel like you want to move up to a higher strength, well, then move up to the 10%, so that you have an idea of how you can get started, since there are two of them. Now, lactic acid is an exfoliating acid that works on the skin surface, so it helps to loosen dead skin cells on the skin surface, which then can help you to reveal the new skin underneath, which at the same time improves dullness, textured skin, fine lines and wrinkles, and an uneven skin tone, such as surface hyperpigmentation in general. And so when working with lactic acid, it can be used on all skin types. However, if you have extremely sensitive skin or compromised skin, please do not use it, because this can easily lead to stinging and burning on the skin, which is very uncomfortable. So therefore, check your skin at first before adding an exfoliant in your skincare routine. And when using it, since it is an exfoliating acid that helps to shed off the dead skin cells to reveal the new skin underneath, it is recommended to use it in your evening skincare routine, because your skin becomes sensitive to the sun when working with an exfoliating acid. And so in the evening, you do not have to bother with sun protection, but the next day when waking up, during daytime, when being exposed to direct sunlight, sun protection is key. Otherwise, you can end up with a sunburn very quickly, and therefore sun protection during daytime is important, but in the evening there is no need, which I will get into later on in my example skincare routines. Now, this now brings me immediately to my frequency guide, and I want to share with you an overall general frequency guide, and then later on how you can adjust it accordingly to your needs, because this is very individual, since not everyone has the same severity of skin concerns, but at the same time not everyone has the same tolerance. So if you're being new to exfoliating acids, if you're being new to lactic acid, I recommend starting off by using it 2 to 3 times per week. So let's say use it on Monday, Wednesday and Friday, so that you have at least 1 or 2 days in between where you're not working with an exfoliant, so that your skin can recover. And do this frequency for about a month. And you see how it goes. If you enjoy the benefits, if you can already see some improvements, you like the frequency, then keep on going with it. There's no need to adjust it if it's working well for you. If by using it 3 times per week already sensitivity occurs, reduce the frequency. Use it less often, then your skin does not need it that much. If you say, well, I can use it more often, I feel like I would tolerate it more often, then you can go ahead after that month and use it every other day in your evening skincare routine. Do this again for some time, for about a month. If you say, well, that's a frequency that I do enjoy, or I can feel a bit of stinging or burning, I'm not sure if that's working well, then again, reduce it. And then the last point would be using it daily in your evening skincare routine, if that's fine for your skin. Now, this is an overall general guide on how you can get in into it and how you can adjust it over time. But I do want to quickly emphasize that once you figure out what frequency works the best for you, it does not necessarily need to stay that way. So let's say you're going to use it every other day and that's what your skin currently enjoys the most. Then maybe after some time you can come across all of a sudden irritation, like stinging or burning on the skin. And the only thing that you have added is your lactic acid. Well, this means that you need to reduce the frequency again because your skin does not need it that much anymore. And I want to give you a specific example. This may not happen like over time if you're being younger. So I'm 26. When I'm working with an exfoliant, I do not need to use it daily because my skin is still quite intact when it comes to loosening the dead skin cells on its own. So I just want to add it like a couple of times a week, and that's basically it. However, as we age, more dead skin cells can build up on the surface. And this is because the natural letting go of the dead skin cells process like basically slows down, and therefore if you're being older, you have really dull skin, you may have dry skin, you may have fine lines and wrinkles, you can easily use it daily in your evening skincare routine. But all of a sudden you may come across stinging and burning, then you have reached a point where you do not have that many dead skin cells on the skin surface anymore, and therefore you need to reduce it, because otherwise if you're not going to reduce it, it's going to exfoliate the newer skin cells, which is what leads to stinging and burning, because they are still healthy, they are still intact, there's no dead skin cells build up, and therefore you need to adjust it over time. So it does not mean that once you figure out what works best for you that you can go on with it forever. This can change over time, so therefore keep an eye on slightly sensitivities such as stinging, burning, or a bit of redness. If you can see this occur, it's best to either give your skin a break or to reduce the frequency when working with lactic acid, so that you have an idea of what to look for and how you can adjust it. This now again brings me to my example skincare routines and what you should avoid, which by the way, if you find them later on helpful, you can download them in the description box down below. Now, as an example setup of an evening skincare routine when using lactic acid, then you can get started and first of all wash your face with a gentle and suitable cleanser for your skin type and needs. Please do not use exfoliating acid cleansers, just use a gentle cleanser that's suitable for dry skin, suitable for combination, normal or oily skin. So make sure to find the right one. Wash your face with your cleanser, rinse it off, pat the skin dry. Then move immediately on to the Ordinary Lactic Acid. Apply to the skin, leave it on the skin. And then if you have any other serums or treatments at home, as well as maybe oil or moisturizer that want to use, this would be now what you would continue with. So let's say you have alpha-butane, niacinamide, or maybe a hydrating serum like marine hyaluronics or hyaluronic acid at home, then this can be the next step. And then after that you can follow with an oil and or moisturizer. You can even mix your oil and moisturizer together. This depends of course on your overall skin needs. So this would be an example setup of an evening skincare routine where you are going to finish with an oil and or moisturizer if you want to include it, and then in the evening there's no sunscreen needed. However, it's fine to use lactic acid on its own as well. By just cleansing your face with a gentle cleanser, use lactic acid, and if you feel like that's already it, well then you can stop right there. You do not have to use necessarily other serums and or treatments, oils or moisturizer afterwards. So please make sure to adjust your skincare routine accordingly to your skin type and what your needs are. But when waking up the next morning, again, sun protection is important. So then again, you would get started with washing your face using your favorite cleanser, and then if you want to include any other serums and treatments, you can go ahead and do so, and then finish with sun protection as your last step in your morning skincare routine, which can either be a moisturizer with SPF or regular sunscreen to protect the skin, since you have worked with lactic acid in your evening skincare routine. So there you have an idea of what an evening routine can look like, as well as how you can adjust it the next day. Now, when it comes to what you should avoid, since lactic acid exfoliates the skin, you have to keep certain combinations in mind, which can lead to more irritation as well as some of the conflicts. And so I want to get started with the conflicts at first. So this is not about sensitivity. This is really about if you're using them together, you can like basically lose the benefits of one of the treatments. And so therefore it's best to keep them separate. So the first one would be, please do not use lactic acid, since it is an exfoliant, and the ordinary peptides in the same routine. So any of the ordinary peptides, please do not use them in the same routine with lactic acid. So use, for example, example, one of the peptides in the morning and your lactic acid in the evening. This is one way on how you can do it, to keep them separate. Do not layer one after another in the same routine. The next one would be EUK, which is one of the ordinary antioxidants. So please, again, keep EUK and lactic acid in separate routines. Again, you can use one in the morning and lactic acid in the evening. And the last one would be niacinamide powder. Now, since it is a powder, please do not mix the niacinamide powder with lactic acid itself. You can mix the niacinamide powder with other treatments, but not with lactic acid. So again, keep them separate. If you're going to mix the niacinamide powder with another treatment, such as, for example, let's say hyaluronic acid, then it's fine to use them in the same routine, but do not mix the powder actually with the lactic acid liquid. So those would be now the major conflicts. Now, when it comes to what you should avoid, since certain combinations can lead to irritation, then the first one would be vitamin C. Now, The Ordinary has several vitamin C products, but I'm talking mainly about their vitamin C powder as well as their vitamin C suspensions. Please keep them separate because it can easily lead to irritation. And use both of them in your evening skincare routine, just on alternate evenings. So on Monday you would use lactic acid, on Tuesday your vitamin C, on Wednesday lactic acid, on Thursday your vitamin C, so that you get most out of it, but you're not using them in the same routine, and to lower the risk of experiencing irritation. The same would apply to the Ordinary retinols, because the Ordinary retinols, overall retinol on its own can already lead to irritation quite quickly. This is one of the points why I recommend keeping them separate. And second of all, because the Ordinary has different strength of retinols. They have the 0.2, 0.5 and the 1%. Now, the higher up you're going in strength, the more likely it can cause irritation. That's why, as an overall general guide, please keep them separate and use them on alternate evenings, adjusting the frequency accordingly to your needs. Because retinol does exfoliate the skin. Kind of, yes, but it works differently based on what retinol does to the skin. But since working with a retinol that can already lead to exfoliating the skin, and adding a lactic acid in during the same week may lead to sensitivity over time. So therefore, think about it before using a lactic acid or overall exfoliant and retinol during the same week. Think of it if you actually need it, or if one of them is already enough. This can again help you to lower the risk of experiencing irritation. And the last point that I do want to emphasize is the Ordinary exfoliating acids. So please do not use lactic acid with, for example, glycolic acid, mandelic acid, or salicylic acid. And please do not use lactic acid after the Ordinary peeling solution or salicylic acid mask. Those are all exfoliating acid products, which if you use them in the same routine, I often get asked, can I use glycolic acid and lactic acid in the same routine? Please do not do this. This can really lead to irritation. Glycolic acid, it's called a toning solution, but it is an exfoliant, and therefore it's best to keep them in separate routines. Either just use one exfoliant and that's it. Or if you want to see which one you prefer, use them on alternate days. But again, adjust the frequency because it can easily lead to irritation. So those are the main points that I want to share with you when it comes to what you should avoid when setting up your skincare routine. Now I want to get started with the entire application so that you can see it visually on my face. Now again, they have two solutions. They have the 5 and 10%. Please do not use both of them, just use one. Either the 5% or 10%. And I'm going to keep my focus on the 5%, which I would recommend anyway if you're being new to it. And so we're going to get started with the first step, which is, first of all, washing your face. So when it comes to washing your face, as already mentioned earlier, use a gentle cleanser. Please avoid exfoliating acid cleansers. And so I have two great examples right here, Cetaphil's Gentle Skin Cleanser or Daily Facial Cleanser. If you have another gentle cleanser at home that you truly love, go ahead and use that one. Now I'm going to use Cetaphil's Daily Facial Cleanser. If you have a different one at home, please make sure to read on the back of the packaging on how you should use your cleanser, since the instructions can change depending on the cleanser that you're using. And if it's your evening skincare routine and you're trying to remove sunscreen and or makeup, doing a double cleanse or just using an oil or balm cleanser really can help you to get everything properly off the skin. So that's another tip that I want to share with you. So again, when it comes to washing your face, read on the back of the packaging if you also can use it around your eyes or if you should avoid the eye area. With Cetaphil's Daily Facial Cleanser, I have to apply this cleanser on wet skin. So the first step that I'm going to do is now wetting my face, neck and hands with lukewarm water to warm water, and then I'm going to apply the cleanser onto wet skin and massage it onto the skin for about 30 seconds to a minute. So let's go ahead and do this. Use between 1 to 2 pumps, so about a coin-size amount of your cleanser in the palm of your hand, and then gently massage it all over your face and neck. So, and once you have massaged it all over your face and neck, you now can go ahead and rinse it off with lukewarm water to warm water by either just using your hands, or if you should come across any issues where you still feel like there's a residue left on the skin, use a fresh and soft washcloth which you can wet, and this can help you to remove the cleanser a bit better. So now go ahead and take a fresh towel and pat the skin dry. Now once you have pat the skin dry, you can immediately move on to the next step, which is now applying the Ordinary Lactic Acid, 5 or 10%, depending on which one you want to use. And so I'm going to use now the Ordinary 5% lactic acid. One thing they have in common, they have the same texture. So now the guide that I want to share with you on how much you're going to use is going to stay the same, doesn't matter if you have the 5 or 10% at home. Now this one has a very lightweight texture, which you need to use a few drops to really make sure that you are able to blend it all over your face and neck. But at the same time, you want to make sure that you're not going to use too much of it, because if it sits on the skin surface and you're using too much of it, it can easily lead to irritation. Therefore, as my overall general guide, use between 5 to 8 drops. You can adjust it. If you feel like 5 drops is enough, then there's no need to use more. If you feel like 5 drops is not enough, then add a few drops more to it so that you can adjust it accordingly when applying it to your face and neck. Now please avoid the eye area, and I'm talking about the eyelid, and please do not get it too close to the actual lower lash line, and please make sure to not get it into your eyes nor into your mouth. If that's the case, rinse it immediately with water. You can technically use it on the eye contour. However, keep in mind that this area may be a bit more sensitive than the rest of your face. So if slightest signs of sensitivity occur, please give your skin a break on the eye contour, and maybe you want to use it less often on the eye contour as if you would use it around your face. And so therefore adjust it accordingly, but it's not wrong, you can use it on the actual eye contour. So I now have used 6 drops in the palm of the hand, then rub your hands together and gently blend it all over your face as well as neck. Now once you have applied it all over your face and neck, you're going to leave it on the skin. There's no need to wash it off. So when doing this in the evening, you're going to leave it on the skin for the entire night until the next morning when waking up and washing your face again. This is when you're going to rinse it off. But you're going to leave it on the skin once you have done the application. Now if you like to, you can stop right here. You do not need to follow with anything else afterwards. Or if you do not have any other serums and treatments at home, then the next step would be an oil and or moisturizer. If you have those products at home, then go ahead and now would be the time to apply it. However, I have several treatments as well, which I want to give you an overall general guide when it comes to the application. So I have marine hyaluronic acid, alpha butane and niacinamide, which are probably the most famous ones. and so therefore I have picked them to give you an overall guide. So if you have a product such as the Ordinary Marine Hyaluronics, that one has a very thin texture. And then again, if you're going to apply it to your face and neck, it has a similar texture to lactic acid. Use between 5 to 8 drops to make sure that you're using enough product when applying it to the skin and that you're able to blend it all over. But again, make sure to not overdo it. Your skin should be able to fully absorb it. When it comes to a product like niacinamide, that one has a thicker texture. Same would apply to alpha butane as well as hyaluronic acid. They have a similar texture. They have a thicker texture. And in this specific case, I recommend reducing the amount of product. Use between 2 to 3 drops for your face and neck. And I wouldn't go over that part because then it can easily sit on top of the skin surface or in some extent may feel very sticky on the skin. And this is what we are trying to avoid. So therefore, when using niacinamide, use between 2 to 3 drops for your face and neck. Now I'm just going to apply niacinamide as an example now after lactic acid. Use 2 to 3 drops in the palm of your hand and then gently apply it over your face and neck. If you can't see it foam, don't worry about it, that's normal. So once you have applied your serum or treatment after you have applied lactic acid, then again you're going to leave it on the skin. There's no need to wash it off. And then if you now want to continue with a moisturizer, you can go ahead and just apply a moisturizer afterwards or just leave it as it is. So again, this depends on your skin type and needs. However, if you now say, well, I have an oil as well as moisturizer at home or just an oil at home and you want to use that one as your last step in your evening skincare routine, that's like fine to do. I have one example, which is the Ordinary Rosehip Seed Oil. When using an oil on its own and it has a pipette, use between, again, 2 to 3 drops. I wouldn't use more than that because then it can feel like very heavy or greasy on the skin. Now, of course, this is personal preference and a feeling that you like, but I recommend using between 2 to 3 drops when applying an oil to the skin. And when it comes to a moisturizer, use about a pea-size amount. Now, what I'm not going to do is another option that you can do, and this is mixing it. You can mix your oil with your moisturizer. If that's something that you usually do, then go ahead. Or if you have the Ordinary products only at home, then that's one possibility on what you can do with the rosehip seed oil and natural moisturizing factors. So when it comes to mixing it, you can go ahead and use about a pea-size amount of your moisturizer and then add, for example, 2 drops of your oil to it. This should be more than enough for your face and neck. So about that much of your moisturizer, which is actually the amount that you would use for your face and neck. If you have a drier skin type, of course, go ahead and adjust it, and you may want to use a bit more of it. That's completely fine. Go ahead and do so. But when mixing it with an oil, then you can go ahead and just add 2 drops of your oil to it and then mix it in the palm of your hand. And then gently apply it all over your face and neck. Now again, this is just an additional step that you can do. You do not have to mix your oil and moisturizer. You can just use one of them or use your oil at first and then your moisturizer afterwards. Then rub your hands together and gently blend it all over your face. So, and once you're done with the application of your oil or moisturizer or both, then this is the last step in your evening skincare routine if you want to include it. And this is how you can set up, for example, an evening skincare routine. Again, in the evening, there's no sun protection needed, only during daytime when being exposed to direct sunlight. Now, if you want to see a general guide of how much you need to use of your moisturizer with SPF or regular sunscreen and how you can properly apply it and evenly apply it all over your face and neck, I have a specific video for you in the top right corner which you can check out so that you're making sure that you're going to protect the skin well enough so that you're not ending up with a sunburn. Now, as the last part of this video, I want to share with you how you can dilute lactic acid with your serum or moisturizer, which is a great alternative if you feel like whenever you're using lactic acid on its own, it still is going to be too strong for your skin to tolerate. Then you can dilute it to reduce the strength of it so that you still can use it, but at the same same time get the benefits out of lactic acid. So one example would be serums and treatments. And so when using one of the ordinary serums and treatments, to keep things simple, I recommend only diluting it with an hydrating serum. Now in this case, this would be, for example, marine hyaluronics or hyaluronic acid. Those are just two great examples. If you have another hyaluronic acid at home or other hydrating serum at home, it's fine to dilute it with this as well. It's just a visual example so that you can see how we can do this. Now I'm going to use the ordinary hyaluronic acid. Now usually for your face and neck you would use between 2 to 3 drops. And so what I'm now going to do is I'm going to use 3 drops in the palm of my hand of hyaluronic acid. And then I'm going to add between 1 to 2 drops of lactic acid to it as well. So now I have the mixture of lactic acid and hyaluronic acid in the palm of my hand, and then just mix it. Once you have nicely mixed it, rub your hands together and gently apply it all over your face and neck. And that's already it. Once you have applied it, you're going to leave it on the skin. There's no need to wash it off. Another example would be diluting lactic acid with your moisturizer. And then it would be similar to what I just have shared with you when using the oil and moisturizer together. So you would use about a pea-size amount of your moisturizer and then add between 2 to 3 drops of lactic acid to the pea-size amount of your moisturizer, mix it in the palm of your hand and then apply it over your face, and then you're going to leave it on the skin. There's no need to wash it off. Now of course, when diluting lactic acid with your hydrating serum or moisturizer, you're not going to add it 2 to 3 times to your skincare routine. Of course, you're just going to apply lactic acid once to the skin, either on its own or diluting it with your serum or moisturizer. So I want to give you an example routine so that you can see the order of application in case you want to dilute it. So let's say you want to dilute lactic acid with an hydrating serum. Then you're going to get started with washing your face using your cleanser, rinse it off, pat the skin dry. Then use the mixture of lactic acid and your hyaluronic acid, apply it to the skin and then leave it on the skin. And then you can move on to other treatments if you want to, and then follow with your oil and or moisturizer at the end of the routine so that you can see the order of application of how you can adjust it. When it comes to diluting lactic acid with your moisturizer, then of course the order of application changes a slightly bit because you're going to add lactic acid to your moisturizer. So you're going to get started with washing your face, then apply any serums and treatments if you have some, and then dilute your lactic acid with your moisturizer and then apply it to the skin. So that you have an idea of, again, of the order of application, because you're only going to apply lactic acid once, either on its own or by diluting it. And so this should make it now clear based on the examples on how you can adjust it accordingly on how your skin is going to react to lactic acid, so that you have other options in mind when trying this out at home. And this is what I wanted to share with you on how you can use ordinary lactic acid 5 and 10% in your skincare routine, or using it on its own, or how you can dilute it. I do hope that you find it helpful. If you did so, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up as well as share it. And if you now want to know more about the ordinary products and how you can apply them, I have several videos for you at the end of this video which I'm going to add so that you can keep on watching. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon in the next one. Happy skincaring. Bye!